Welcome to the Air Gap Assets and Groups video. In this video, we will highlight the features of using assets and groups. We will cover common topics, ideas, and close with benefits of both. Feel free to reach out to your Air Gap technical architecture team for a further in-depth discussion on ideas and best practices. If we look at assets underneath the Assets AI directory, you'll notice we can break out based on type or category. Right now I don't have anything defined other than just other, or a list. So if I look at, in the case of our video here, list, some things I'm going to want to look at: IP allocation and air gapped, right? So all mine, you'll see the green check mark. So all mine are air gapped. Keep in mind, one of the things that air gap does is change all IP devices to a /32, right? And then we're also the default gateway for that network VLAN. When we talk about DHCP, I'm running DHCP server in my lab environment here for the demo, which AirGap can certainly do for smaller plants or smaller locations. You may want us to act as a DHCP relay in which we run an IP helper service. So in this case here, IP allocation, if we're using, let's say, your Windows DHCP server, it's just going to say DHCP. You're going to actually reserve it on the Windows DHCP server side. So the only designation you'll have is DHCP. Now I can certainly come in and let's say this device here, maybe I want to make it a static device, right? So then I can certainly just change to static, the designation of static, or keep it DHCP and make it non-air gapped, right? The difference there is when you make something non-air gapped, when air gap assigns the IP or relays the options, we will change the designation from a /32 on air gapped to a /24, so it's no longer air gapped. Air gap plus is a newer feature release where we'll be handling /30s, right? Maybe for older OT devices that don't actually take a /32. This will be outside of the scope of the video today. A couple things we can do here is we can certainly add devices to a group. So maybe we say, hey, I want to create a group for my line 1 devices, right? So I can certainly click on the group button. It's going to be an IP group, but I could certainly make it a MAC address group, right? So I could choose MAC instead of IP, so we can perform source-based MAC. Destination is always going to be an IP address or an Active Directory object. But in the case of my group, I'm going to make it, let's say, line 1. So if I come over to my security groups, you'll see that I now have a line 1 group comprised of these 3 devices. So if we go back to the assets page under Asset AI, another thing that we can do is define tags. And this is useful in that when we create a policy can be source IP, can be source Active Directory object, it could be source a user login, it could be source a tag. So give examples: source line 1 to destination line 1. I want to allow any and all traffic. I don't care, but I don't want to allow traffic from line 2 to line 1 or vice versa. So it gives us the ability to start creating policies, not just defining groups. So if I wanted to add a tag, I just simply edit the device and I will place in whatever my tag needs to be. So I type it in, hit enter, right? So it shows up in a gray box like this, and I hit save. So after I hit save, you'll now see I have a line 2 tag on this device. So maybe I have a couple hundred devices here in this view. I just want to look at line 1 devices. So I just simply type in line 1, don't even have to hit enter. But then I'm able to view simply just my line 1 devices in the assets page. Let's head over to the objects and groups page under the security directory on the left. We've already added our line 1 group containing 3 of our line 1 devices, but let's talk about some of the other groups that we can create. We can create a network group, Right? So this would be a designation. We talk about a network CIDR of, let's say, 10.1.30.0. So we've got a network VLAN 200 here on the left. So maybe we want to create a VLAN 300. So the CIDR is 10.1.30. I'm going to add it, and we'll simply call this VLAN 300. And I simply add as such. Another thing we're able to do, and this is unique to air gap, is I'm able to create a device, can certainly choose device attribute of manufacturers, and then choose the type of manufacturers, so Siemens or some other OT device manufacturer. But in this case, I don't want to choose manufacturers. I want to choose operating systems, right? And then maybe I want to choose Apple. And maybe I want to make this autonomous. So what this is going to do is anytime that AirGap sees an Apple device on the network, it's going to automatically add it to this group dynamically. And then this group may be part of a policy that we'll talk about in the next section under the policies and the kill switch. But I'm able to then dynamically modify my policies, right, without having to go through and manually edit them. I use an autonomous grouping like this to be able to do so. So if I hit add here, right, again, you'll see Apple, see the little lightning bolt that signifies autonomous, but then you'll see all my Apple devices that are on my network that are now part of this group. Another thing that you'll see with the objects and groups is the number of policies that these groups are members of. So you'll see I've got several groups that aren't member of any policies just yet, but we'll certainly start adding them when we look at the policy video. The last topic we wanted to talk about was device discovery. If we head over to the VLANs page under networking, the directory on the left, if we choose our VLAN, we click on the gear icon. We can talk about endpoint discovery. So what will happen is you'll see this has not been run in a week, right? So this, for me, in the lab is a manual process. But what will happen is we go out and we look for new devices that maybe we don't know about. So when we talk about static devices, so when we have a new device that we see, we actually mark it as a discovered device in the assets. And then you're able to do a couple things. You can keep it non-air gapped, or since it's a static device, either through a PowerShell script or an SH script that we have, you can change the bit mask on that device to a /32, and then go into the assets page, change the designation from discovered to static, and then make it air gapped. So it's a fairly easy process to go through and complete. This will complete our video for assets and groups. Next, let's talk about a few benefits, and then this will complete our video session. In closing, what are some of the benefits of using air-gap assets and groups? First, asset identification is native to the air-gap platform. No need for third-party tool integration. And air-gap supports all device types for import. Autonomous grouping gives the air-gap platform the ability to dynamically adjust security posture when the infrastructure changes. And finally, ease of use. No complicated methods for identifying devices or traffic being sent to and from the devices. AirGap makes this all available in our easy-to-use UI. This concludes our video on assets and groups in the AirGap platform. Thank you for watching.